world. This is the Fan and Fanatic Podcast. I'm Parker Gerlecki, aka the Fan and Fanatic, and with me as always is my broadcast partner,
Dad,
aka Ryan Gerlecki. I've got a passion for all things sports. So, on the Fan and Fanatic Podcast, we'll talk to anyone and everyone from all over the world of sports who will sit still long enough to answer my questions.
that's right. Now, as a result of complications from severe brain damage at birth, unfortunately, Parker will never be able to physically play sports, but that cannot and has never stopped him from loving everything about sports and dreaming of a career in broadcasting. So each of our guests graciously gives of their time on this podcast to invest in Parker's dream and to help him be part of the sports world he loves so dearly.
Now, let's play ball! Welcome back, Fanatic Addicts, to the Fan and Fanatic Podcast. I'm super excited about my guest today because he is, without a doubt, probably one of the coolest people I know. Because he works for probably the biggest sports radio station in the New England in the New England area of the USA, Mr. Rich Shertenlieb. So, Mr. Shertenlieb, sir, why don't you tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and your connection to the world of sports?
Oh, well, Parker, I am on a radio station here that is the flagship of the Patriots, the Celtics, the Bruins, and the New England Revolution. And this region is crazy about sports, so I'm extremely lucky that a lot of people listen to us. And, every morning I try to talk people down when they get upset that the Patriots are stinking, or I, try to, feel the energy of the people who are excited about the Celtics season. It's great being on the other side of it. I'm extremely lucky, Parker.
Very good, very good. So, do you by any chance know Mr. Johnny, the voice of the raspy radio voice of the Boston Celtics most?
Parker, his calls are legendary up here. You hear him.
Havlicek stole the ball. Havlicek stole the ball.
That's pretty good. That's not bad, Parker. Not bad.
I can't do the raspy old man voice that he does. But anyways.
Well, Parker, this region is known for having some of the craziest, most colorful play-by-play voices and color commentators. Scott Zolak, he is the person you had mentioned him before. He's the guy who does the color commentary for the Patriots on our station. He used to play for the New England Patriots for a little bit at quarterback, and that guy gets so into the calls. There was one time a couple of years ago where Tom Brady throws this pass into the end zone
against the Falcons, right?
No, but that was awesome.
Because in that Falcons game, actually, no, you go ahead. And then I just remembered another call.
Oh, sure. No. He just threw this pass, and Scott Zolak got so excited that he just started yelling words. He just went, "Unicorns, show ponies, where's the beef?" And it was just so awesome that this guy was so into it that his brain exploded on the air, and he was so happy that he just started yelling these crazy words. And that's what I love about these guys up here,
I'll have to find. Do you by any chance remember which play that was and who it was against?
Yes, it was. I believe it was against the Saints. If you just Google "unicorns, show ponies, where's the beef," you will find that clip. It is one of the all-time make you laugh, your stomach hurts when that happens. It's fantastic.
So, I believe Bob Sochi, who is the voice of the Patriots, was a part of one of the greatest NFL. Was probably a part of the greatest Super Bowl comeback in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
Or as I like to call it, the 28-3 choke.
Now, Parker, are you being from the South? Are you a Falcons fan?
No, I'm actually a neutral fan. There's a long story behind that, but if you don't mind, and then I'll lead into another question. So anyhow, as you said, I'm from Atlanta, so I'm a diehard Hawks fan, and I hated and at some point in my life I hated LeBron James. And so anyways, the Hawks invited me to go to their fan day thing against the 76ers, which happened to be the final game before the big arena renovation. And so during one of the interviews, I look into the camera and I say, shout out to every NBA player, even you, LeBron, even though I've hated you for my whole life. So then the Hawks grabbed that clip, tweeted it to LeBron, and then my dad told me that the Hawks had done this, and I was demoralized.
Oh, no, you're a hero for doing that. You know how many people, you know how many teams LeBron's heart has broken? Like me, I'm a Celtics fan, and I've seen LeBron come in here. Now, the Celtics have had some success.
Oh, yeah.
But there's been times where he's broken my heart as a Celtics fan. And so I'm going to take the voice of all the people in Boston, and I want to say on behalf of all of them, thank you, Parker. That was an awesome thing to say. Don't ever feel demoralized. You were a hero for that.
So yeah, I didn't want to start a Twitter beef with LeBron. So my dad, being the loving father he is, he tweeted LeBron and made sure everything was okay. And ever since then, I've been a neutral fan. Oh, and back to what you said about the LeBron James thing. I don't suppose you remember Terry versus LeBron? When LeBron like legit like Michael Jordan dunked on Jason Terry.
Mm-hmm. He had a way of just not coming out of nowhere, but just bringing out his best in the playoffs. LeBron was infuriatingly good.
And if I remember correctly, Bob Sochi had a call, and that went a little something like this. And I quote, "Brady's back! Brady's back! That's your quarterback!" Or is that some other guy?
Well, that is Scott Zolak, the unicorn show ponies. Where's the beef? That was Sosi was on that call. Like they were both in the booth together. And you're absolutely right. The first part of the call was Bob Sosi saying, "And Brady did it." And then that's when Zolak, the guy who I told you about, lost his mind in the best way because he's basically a fan watching these games.
He said, "Brady's back! Brady's back! That's your quarterback, right?"
Oh yeah, he gets so into it, and that I'll tell you what. The one thing I have a ton of fans, Parker, because I grew up in Kennesaw, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, and so that Super Bowl when it was the Falcons 28-3 game, I had all of my friends from Atlanta texting me all these pictures about how awful Brady is and that they can't wait to go to the parade. And how this is like the biggest beatdown ever. And then all of a sudden in the second half, my phone just stopped getting texts. and I didn't want to jinx it. That was such an intense game, Parker, that I didn't even enjoy it until about a week later because I couldn't believe it happened. So many strange things had to happen for them to make that comeback. And I remember I woke up my son. I threw him out of bed. I'm like, "You're not going to believe this." And he didn't understand what was going on. And I couldn't enjoy it till about a week later because I couldn't believe it happened, Parker. It was amazing.
Very good, very good, very good. So you grew up in Atlanta. Do you cheer for the Atlanta teams, the Boston teams, or both?
So I was never a big Falcons fan. And my whole
I get that. The Falcons are kind of terrible at the moment.
You know what, though?
Honestly, I just realized something. So Desmond Ridder, who was supposed to be our franchise quarterback, kind of didn't do so well. But so then they started Taylor Heineke last week against the Vikings.
Yep.
And Taylor Heineke blew that lead. So in other words, our quarterback situation isn't our problem. Our problem is our coaching staff. But anyways, sorry for that interruption. Go ahead. You were saying
no problem. Now I always liked the Hawks because one of my first games that I went to was when I was a kid. There was I don't want to call them a big three, but there were three guys who played for the Hawks that were must see. It was Dominique Wilkins, who at the time was like the slam dunk champion. Mm-hmm. And then there was Spud Webb, who was tiny and became a slam dunk champion.
The potato spider.
You are a fan, man. And then Doc Rivers was on that team too, who of course went on to coach the Celtics to a championship. And I love Doc and I loved that team. And at the Omni, which is where they used to play, was where
which
I
now
saw
is a hotel, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. Like the CNN Center's right next to it. But I remember I saw Jordan play. I saw the Hawks play Larry Bird, with the Celtics. And it's ironic that I live in Boston, but my whole life I was a Celtics fan because it was like my great aunt or something was married to a guy who played for the Celtics in like the 50s, like long time ago. So there was like a family relation to that. So I was always a Celtics fan, but that Hawks team was so much fun. So I grew up a Hawks fan. The Braves, I was there for when, they won the World Series. I was a big Braves fan. I'm still a Braves fan. It's okay to be have a National League team and an American League team.
If I remember correctly, in recent history, the Red Sox beat the Braves 9-1.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, the Braves are a way better team than the Red Sox right now, though, man. I love that Braves team. I know that they obviously disappointed in the postseason, but this Red Sox team is a mess right now. So be happy if you're a Braves fan, because at least you've got the pieces. You got great talent. They're entertaining to watch on any given night. But the Red Sox are just kind of there, wasting everyone's time.
Oh, hey, by the way, do you think Chris Sale dyed his socks red once he joined the Red Sox? Because he played for the White Sox, and now he plays for the Red Sox.
You know what? I got to think that's probably something that crossed his mind to win the favor of the fans. I just wish he was healthy. I just wish he could be on the mound and pitch. That would be nice.
So what do you do for the station?
So Parker, I am one of the guys that's on in the morning. So it's from 6 to 10 a.m. I work with my partner, and we do a show where we talk about sports. There's obviously a lot to talk about, but we also talk about stuff that just makes us laugh. We'll do entire breaks that have nothing to do with sports, and we'll just go off on tangents and talk about something that we saw that cracked us up. And it's a fun show, and we love it that we get all the guests on. We interview coaches for the teams, like players on the teams. Sometimes even comedians will come in studio. We're just basically what we find interesting, we talk about, and what we find interesting a lot of the time is the sports in town.
So actually, here's another tie-in to you. The most recent Hawks game I've been to was actually against the Celtics. So Jason Tatum, Jason Tatum and the boys.
Yeah. Who is your favorite player in the NBA of all the players now in the NBA?
Oh, dude. Honestly, I think. Okay, look. LeBron, definitely, because you remember when LeBron became the new NBA scoring leader? Yep. So let me give a flashback. So LeBron, earlier in that game, so I was listening to that game, right? LeBron got popped in the eyeball, and I was like, oh man, LeBron's not going to play. But, being the absolute athlete he is, LeBron powered through it, played the game, and became the new NBA all-time scoring leader, and that was that.
Yeah, I mean, he's unbelievable, and he's a guy that I think about that when I think of like Tom Brady. Like, I'm gonna tell my grandkids that I got to see Tom Brady play. I know that there's gonna be a lot of times where you're gonna say, as much as I hate to say it, LeBron is just fantastic, and he's been great. Although I'll still stand by it till the day I die that Michael Jordan's better. I know there's a big debate. Heck, I think Kobe Bryant is a better player, or was a better player than LeBron James. But LeBron James is up there. He's definitely one of the best.
I know this might be a sore subject, but do you remember Ime Udoka?
Oh yes, I do remember Ime Udoka, yep.
So, we're not gonna get into what he did, because honestly, that's a lot. That's a little too,
It's weird. Yeah.
It's a little too risque for a sports podcast.
There's no question, but I'll tell you something funny, Parker, is that
because weren't they supposed to hire him after that season because he was did they just never hire him back because Joe Mazzulla did such a good job?
I think what had happened. So this is so crazy, Parker. At the beginning of every year, they have this thing called Media Day that I would go down. And I get to sit down with all of the Boston Celtics and whoever I want. It's like it's one-on-one. I interview Tatum every year and Jaylen Brown and all these guys, and interview the coach and Brad Stevens, the GM, and all that.
Wait, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, Parker, is that day where I had to sit down with all the players was like 2 days after everything was announced about Ime Udoka. So everyone who was there was like in this really weird mood. Like, We don't know what we can say about anything. Like Joe Mazzulla had just found out that he was the interim head coach. So every interview, just basically they couldn't talk about it. They're just like, I don't know what to say right now. Like every interview was like super weird, but it ended up working out because Mazzulla ended up being a pretty darn good coach in the end.
Whatever happened to Brad Stevens? Was he? Did he get the boot, or did he just retire from old age?
Well, they loved him so much that they moved him from being a coach to being the president of basketball operations.
So he's still with the team, but higher up.
He is. He's the one who hires the coach. He's the guy. He's the decision maker, and he's very, very smart guy. Brad Stevens, absolutely.
Oh, by the way, do you know who Eddie Palladino is?
Oh, he's the announcer for the Celtics. Absolutely.
Jaylen Brown.
Do you know who Mike Gorman is by any chance?
No.
So Mike Gorman is the TV voice.
Oh yeah, super thick Boston accent, right? Mike Gorman.
Sure, he's from Dorchester, which is
Dorchester packed it. Swampscott packed it. The Harbor, the Revere. I assume you know what I'm talking about.
It's like you're from here. My goodness.
Do you remember a few Super Bowls ago where Hyundai did the commercial with Rachel Dratch and all the Boston dudes with the and then Big Papi was there. Hey, you can't back that. He's got smart back. Easy. It's Big Papi. Sorry about that, you bigness.
I'll tell you what. It's weird because before I moved here, I was like, there's no way people really talk that way. That can't be real. And then I moved here. I'm like, oh my God, they really talk that way. Like,
but by the way, go ahead.
It's strange. I mean, and you said it best. I mean, it's like, Wicked and everything, when they get passionate, it's like, yeah, kid's a big thing. You end your sentences with kid. Yes.
Clam chowder. Yeah? Or no, wicked good or wicked bad?
I am a fan of clam chowder. I do. I can't do the accent. I never have done the accent. I'm weird. I don't have the Southern accent, even though I spent all the years there. And I don't have the Boston accent. I'm just kind of like a weird robot.
Have you ever packed your car in the yard of the harbor?
Okay, now that's something they don't say. That is because there is no yard where you can park your car at Harvard. So then
what's it with packing cars and harbors over here?
That is someone who has never been to Boston who said that. Absolutely. Now that's the one thing. Oh, and the other thing too, nobody here calls it Beantown. Beantown is something that only out-of-towners call it. Whenever you say Beantown, you're like, oh boy. It's almost like people who call Atlanta Hotlanta. Nobody in Atlanta calls it Hotlanta. Just people from out of Atlanta call it Hotlanta. So that's how you know someone's a tourist, is if they say Beantown.
Oh, by the way, do you remember do you remember a few years ago when the Red Sox made it to won the World Series and Joe Buck said, and I quote, "The Boston Red Sox are world champions."
Oh yeah, that was I'll tell you what's crazy, Parker, is that I don't live that far from Fenway Park. And whenever the Red Sox would win a playoff game, you would hear like a swelling of people on the street. It becomes like a party. People would go down the road. It would shut down the streets. Like when they would win, either the championship or they would win one of the earlier rounds, you would hear people out until 3 a.m. going nuts and partying and honking horns. This town is so much fun during the playoffs, no matter what the sport is.
And if I remember correctly, there was another there's a guy on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta.
Yeah, I do, of course. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Andy Bunker? Do you know who he is?
I know the name. I'm not familiar with his.
I believe he worked in Boston for the Red Sox for a while, okay. And then he moved over to Atlanta and now hosts the morning show. The midday show with one Randy McMichael.
Oh yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
Fun fact. So before Andy and Randy were hosting the morning show, it was hosted. The midday show. It was hosted by one Rick Kamla and one Mr. John Michaels.
Yeah, I know Rick Kamla. Rick Kamla used to be on NBA TV. I've done interviews with Rick Kamla before. Rick Kamla is a funny guy. We played an entire break of his after the Patriots won that Super Bowl against the Falcons. And, being people from Boston, we found it to be hysterical because he was taking calls from people saying, like, we won the game, bro. We had totally won it and we blew it. And, that's always fun, too, is when, Patriots are or any kind of team around here wins, we love listening to what the teams, the radios in the other cities are saying, because it's always pretty funny.
So yeah, so speaking of reporters flying the nest, I don't know if you know. So do you remember that? So the Hawks' current sideline reporter is one Miss Tabitha Turner Wilkins.
Okay.
And then who took over for one Miss Lauren Jabara, who now works over at NBA TV. And let me tell you something, Lauren Jabara has the face for television.
There you go. That's great. And
by the way, do you know who I'm talking about, or do you have no idea who I'm talking about?
I do not know, because I haven't seen, I think, the local Hawks. Every time the Hawks are on up here, it's on national TV. So I see the ESPN and the TNT crew. So I don't get to see Fox. Was it Fox South or something that they've got?
Bally Sports South, Fox Sports South. So then, so it used to be Fox Sports South, but then Diamond Sports Group bought the Fox Sports networks, and now it's Bally Sports.
So Parker, who's your favorite broadcaster? Like, of all the broadcast, because you're really good at your job. So
I don't know, man. They're all pretty solid, if you ask me.
Is there one that, when they're on the broadcast, you go, okay, this is going to be fun. This person makes me smile. This guy always knows or female knows exactly what to say. Is there anyone that you say, I could take some tips from this person?
No, not really. Actually, do you by any chance, so Mike Conti, he's the radio voice of the Atlanta United and also the pre-half and post-game show host for the Atlanta Hawks. Do you know of him?
I do. Now, I do know Mike Conti, yes.
Yeah. He's a good friend of ours.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Sorry, I've gone off on on a 20-minute tangent, so I need to.
20-minute tangents are the best tangents, Parker. That's the great thing about you, Parker, is that you go where the passion goes. Don't listen to people who say you have.
Is that why everyone likes Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith?
You bet.
Actually, no. Stephen A. Smith because Pat McAfee, I don't know if you've listened or watched him, but he is a funny guy. Matter of fact, do you remember a few years ago when the NFL draft was in Tennessee? And Pat McAfee announced and I believe the Colts picked Bobby Okereke that night.
Wow. I don't remember.
Pat McAfee announced that pick, and he was dogging on the Titans. I assume you know what dogging on means, right?
I lived in the South long enough to know what dogging on means. Absolutely. Parker.
All right. But anyways, how did you get into broadcasting?
So it's strange. I actually, I was in a band that used to travel around and play on the weekends, and I went to Georgia Tech, and the college radio station was looking
WREK?
Very good, absolutely. And they were looking for DJs, on-air people, and I, being a dummy, thought that if I became a DJ, maybe they would play my music. I learned that that's not how it works, but I hosted a talk show called Tech Talk, and I loved it. I thought it was great, and I liked it so much that I started calling around radio stations to seeing if they needed an intern. And there used to be a station, I think it's back. It was called 99X.
Oh yeah, 99X. So the thing with 99X is it was a station for a while, but then it became Rock 100.5, and then Rock 100.5 left the airways, and 99X took over. Because this time they're WWWQ HD2, I think, and now they have their own station.
So Parker, you know what's crazy about this industry and crazy about this is that sometimes it's just timing. And with me, I had called 99X and left a message just saying, hey, if you need an intern, I'd love to do it. I go to Georgia Tech. I'm in radio. And I got a call from the host saying that they needed somebody because almost immediately because their intern, something had happened. So Parker, it was crazy. They had an intern that every morning, every person on the show was giving them like $5-10 to go get breakfast for them at a bagel place down the street. So this was going on for like 5-6 months. And then one day the host went to that bagel restaurant on the weekend, and the owner was like, hey, Jimmy, do you like the free food that we're giving you every morning? And Jimmy goes, free food? What do you mean? He goes, yeah. I give your intern all the free food and to bring back to you guys. It ended up the intern had been keeping everybody's money and not like using it and didn't tell anyone he was getting it for free. So he basically had stolen like $500 from him. So they fired him and they needed someone immediately. So if it wasn't for that intern messing up, I may not have ever been in broadcasting. So it was kind of nice that's unfortunate for him, but I guess good for me.
Was this on Power 99 by any chance?
That's a great reference, but Power 99 had already flipped to 99X by that point. But it was the same frequency. You're absolutely right. It used to be Power 99, but I was on 99X.
Oh, okay. So my grandfather tells me you have some crazy stories from your time broadcasting in Atlanta. Oh, and after you tell that story, I do want to give a shout out to someone that you probably might not know, but you may know.
Sure. Who's the shout out? Let's hear it.
Oh no, you go. So do you by any chance remember the old morning show on 96 Rock when Power 96.1 was 96 Rock, the regular guys?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were around, but there's a Mexican restaurant out here, Quesadori's Mexican restaurant.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
So anyways, one of the owner's son, who sadly passed away, God rest his soul, knew someone who I believe was on the regular guys by the name of Mr. Don Diablo. I think his first name is either Larry or Will.
Oh, Larry Wax? Larry Wax?
Yes,
the host.
Larry Wax, I think.
Yeah, Larry is a good guy. And, when I was in Atlanta, even though I was on 99X, we were friends. As a matter of fact, at one point, Larry tried to hire me to be with the regular guys. And I ended up re-signing with 99X instead. But I always liked those guys. I think that I never really knew Eric, but Larry was a really, really good dude. I liked him a lot.
Did Larry by any chance have a nickname that was Don Diablo by any chance?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, maybe. It sounds kind of like something funny that he would do. But I always just knew him as Larry Wax, one of the regular guys. He was very funny. Good guy.
Because was there a guy by the name of William who was on the regular guys or not? Or do you not know of any William on the regular guys?
I remember it was Larry and Eric. Were the two main ones, but then there was South.
Oh yeah, Eric Von Hessler.
That's it, Eric Von Hessler, who I think's now on GST, I believe, in Atlanta.
No, WSB.
SB, you're right. That's right. And then there was Southside Steve Rickman.
Steve Rickman.
Yep.
Who I believe hosted Bailey and Southside on Rock 100.5.
Yep, absolutely. With Axel, my good friend Axel was on that station. Now he's at the River. Axel's at the River now.
Yes, the River.
Yeah,
97.1 with English Nick and Deborah Green and Steve, what's his face? Steve
Craig.
Oh yeah, Steve Craig, who you might recognize as the voice. So fun fact. So I don't know if you paid it. Did you go to any hockey games when you were in Atlanta?
Oh, I was a Thrashers fan. Absolutely, I love it.
Because there was a minor league team called the Atlanta Gladiators, and I believe that Steve Craig was their public address announcer. And who actually is the current public address announcer for the Atlanta United. And how I knew this was, so I'm going to tell another quick story.
Awesome.
My father and I'm sorry, I'm going off on these tangents.
I love these tangents.
So my father and I were blessed to get to go to an Atlanta United match. Some of our one of our friends had 2 tickets to the match, and he relinquished them to us. And so they were playing Nashville SC, I believe. They won 4-0. They debuted their a new kit they called the 404 kit. And then one of their new players, Saba, scored his first goal of the season. So anyways, when the guy was doing the thing and he said, "Please welcome to the pitch, your Atlanta United." So I'm I looked this guy up and I get my dad's phone and I look up who is the voice of who is the radio announcer for the public address announcer for the Atlanta Gladiators. And sure enough, the same guy, Steve Craig.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is I have this really obscure talent where I can recognize voices and automatically put it into my mind where I have heard them,
That's awesome. Steve Craig is one of the all-time great guys. He was I consider him a friend. When we worked together, we would hit it off on, he liked really obscure bands that I would like. And then, we would talk a little bit about sports, but mostly it was our love of strange music that I think that helped us bond. And yeah, and he is great at his job, like not just the radio job, but he's great at announcing. I've heard him do it before, and he's passionate about the teams. He loves what he does. If you want to laugh, there was, when the Atlanta Thrashers first came around, there was a guy who did the radio calls whose name was Scott Farrell. And Scott.
Oh, wait, Pharrell?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You mean to tell me the Scott Farrell, as in Pharrell, like the Pharrell on the bench?
Yep.
Wait, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that Scott mother flipping Farrell, pardon my French, brother. Wait, so you mean to tell me that the same Scott Farrell who hosts Farrell on the bench was the radio announcer for the Atlanta Thrashers?
Absolutely, and it was his.
Get the heck out of town!
Yeah.
I really want to get, dude. Look, I'm not trying to. Okay, look, I know, like, my mom doesn't want me to do this, but like sometimes on the podcast, I'll ask my guests to get us people. So if you like, do you by any chance, are you still connected with Mr. Farrell?
No, I am not. I've never been connected with him. I loved him but it was crazy because you would hear him and his voice was just so different. He would be like, Mark Savard,
it's Farrell on the bench in the biggest way possible, hanging out.
It would sound like he was gargling glass, but for some reason you didn't mind it. His voice is so distinct.
Right over the river and through the woods from where Granny.
Yep. I'll tell you what, the Thrashers did like a bunch of really interesting stuff. Like, as far as they had him be the voice, they had Mitch Hedberg, who's one of my favorite comedians, do commercials for the Thrashers. It was really fun and outside the box. And it's a shame that it didn't work, but there's rumors that the NHL might go back to Atlanta now, which would be kind of fun because hockey's the best. NHL hockey is a lot of fun.
So, back to your crazy time, because I do have surely you have a lot of connections, like, within the world of sports. So, well, like, I would love to have them on the show. But anyways, back to you. I'm sorry. I'm making a complete fool out of myself
okay.
on my own show.
Parker, let me tell you something. This is why you're great. All right. There's so many people, Parker, who do it. They go down the list of questions and they do that. Here's why you're fantastic at what you do, is because you take those tangents that you're passionate about and you run with them. Because I guarantee you, Parker, when you're passionate about something, people would rather listen to that 1,000 times out of 1,000 than a right turn into some questions that you may have. So embrace those tangents, Parker. You're so good at it. When you start going off about a game that you love or a moment that you were a part of, that's the kind of stuff that gets the listeners engaged. That's the kind of stuff that makes people identify with you and love hearing you outside of just any other voice. So, Parker, take that and run with it, because that is your gift.
Can I ask you a stupid question?
Of course.
Do you by any chance remember what station that the Atlanta Thrashers were on? Because maybe I know some people who work at said station. Actually, matter of fact, I'll have my producer look it up. But anyways, back to you.
Sure. I don't know, because at the time, the sports station was, it wasn't 92.9 The Game. It was an AM, and I forget what it was, but Steak Shapiro was one of the hosts.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Steak Shapiro is, like, he is legendary.
Yep, and I forget what the name of the station was, but it was an AM sports station that I believe that was the one that carried the Thrashers.
Okay, cool. So back to your crazy time in Atlanta.
Yes. Would you like to hear a story about some of the stuff? Is that what you like to hear?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Whatever you want.
I used to. So, Parker, when I first got in radio, I tried to do whatever I could to get airtime, to make it so I was so valuable to them that they couldn't get rid of me. It's kind of just, once you get your foot in the door, you don't ever want anyone to be able to push it back out. So I would just ask the host if I could borrow. They had this hidden mic that looked like a pen. And so I was like, could I go out and record some hidden mic bits? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I remember the first one that I did is I went to a music store and I asked them if I could try out the microphones, and they're like, sure. And I just kind of was like, test. And then all of a sudden I start going, I like cranked it as loud as I could. Until they had to come in and they'd turn it back down and then they would walk away and I would crank it again. And they, said that if you got to stop or we're going to get the police. And we aired it and it was a huge hit. I did a bunch of other bits that were like crazy and over the top. And then there was something that we did for charity where I got buried alive inside of this like casket and they put like 2 tons of concrete over the top of me to where I couldn't get out. And I wasn't able to get out until we collected a truck full of Toys for Tots. And I was in a parking lot covered in concrete for like 2.5 days. And we ended up getting like a whole truck full of toys. And yeah, I did anything I could to get into radio, to get my voice out there. And it worked. And somehow I'm here after doing all that crazy stuff.
So out of all your experiences, what was the greatest moment or memory?
Oh, man. I mean, there's been cool stuff. I mean, there's been like, some of the people like heroes that I've been able to interview in this job, like people I never thought I would meet. Like Sylvester Stallone was cool. Tom Cruise, I got to meet Larry Bird. Jerry Rice, who I was a massive fan of when I was a kid. Like I had a poster of him on my wall, and that's the first thing I told him. I'm like, I want you to know, I don't mean to sound creepy, but every night when I was a kid, I would go to sleep looking at your face because there was a poster of you right across from me that said Goldfingers, and it had you holding the football. And he was like, he told me all about that, that poster that was made. It's, every time we hit number 1, I always feel that I'm lucky that people actually care. That's an achievement. I don't know, just the fact that I can do this for a living and be able to feed my family on just goofing around about stuff that I love is probably the best thing about it, Parker.
So when the Patriots made it to the 3 straight Super Bowls, Super Bowl 51, Super Bowl 52, and Super Bowl 53, did you get to travel with the team?
So I didn't travel with the team, but I always traveled.
In other words,
yeah.
Did you do the show? Did you do your show on location from the Super Bowl?
Every Super Bowl, even the ones the Patriots aren't there. I always we show up on Monday and we broadcast in this thing called Media Row, which is this huge like convention center that a bunch of radio stations and TV stations from all around the country, and they come there and they bring the players by. They bring a bunch of players who aren't in the Super Bowl, and all day long you're interviewing, these guys, and then you go to Media Day, which is when each of the players comes out on a podium and you get to for an hour to talk to them. It's amazing. It's one of the best weeks to do radio or to do television of the year is Super Bowl Media Week. So yes, I go to every Super Bowl Media Week.
So when you were at Super Bowl 53, which was in Atlanta, did you get like goosebumps, like, cause like Atlanta was your hometown?
It was cool. I got to see some friends that were down there. And I got to go up and eat at my favorite restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants in the world, which is in Ackworth. It's called Henry's. It's like a Cajun place, which when I say it's one of my favorite restaurants in the world, I truly mean it. And also there's no Waffle Houses up here, Parker. So it was killing me. I got to go down and eat at a Waffle House or two while I was
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Do you know Mr. Alan Roach?
Alan Roach. I'm not sure. Where would I know him from?
Public address announcer for the Minnesota Vikings. Public address announcer for the Colorado Avalanche.
No, I
Public
don't.
address announcer for for many a Super Bowl. You know.
I don't. But he's
just look up Alan Roach and maybe you'll know who I'm talking about.
Bet I will, Parker. Absolutely.
All right. Anyways, any other stories you think our listeners would like to know?
Oh, just it's a lifetime of stories. But I got to be honest. It's a fun job, and you know what, Parker, I say this all the time, is like, somebody gets to do jobs like mine. If you see a job that you like and you want it, just know that somebody has to do it. And Parker, what I love about you is that you're an original voice who obviously knows so much about what you're talking about. Like you're throwing out knowledge that I do this for a living and I don't even know this stuff. You're so good at it. But, if you continue to embrace the voice that you have and not really try to be anyone else, you're going to be able to share your gift with the world. And that's truly going to make people want to listen to you as opposed to anybody else.
So on this podcast, we are all sports fanatics. So last question we ask, as a fan, what do you think is the all-time greatest moment in sports?
Ooh, all-time greatest moment in sports. I'm gonna have to say the moment, and this is it's tragic and it's amazing at the same time. It was when Drew Brees got hurt back in the early 2000s, and they put Tom Brady in for the first time, and the greatest of all time stepped on the field and started his career just dominating. Because I don't think in any sport other than Wayne Gretzky is there an absolutely unquestioned greatest like Tom Brady is. And to be able to witness that and know that that was the moment that it all started, that might be the greatest moment in sports.
Wait, hold on. Drew Brees played for the Patriots?
I'm sorry, did I say Drew Brees? Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
Boy, now you know why I'm so good at my job. You can tell it's late.
That's okay. I've made many mistakes myself.
Well, Drew Brees, let's change history. So when Drew Brees and his mole did play for the Patriots, let's just create a false history here. Then maybe, and then Tom Brady ended up playing for, let's say the Jets.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm not trying to throw my producer under the bus. So I was getting my hair cut at Sports Clips earlier today, and we were talking, and she's so like, wait, what did you say exactly?
I asked if he was played with Tom Brady. I didn't mean
So she was talking about, oh, shoot. No. It was, JJ Watt, right?
Oh, yeah.
And she said,
I just think he was Gronkowski. That's what
I was like, didn't Tom Brady play quarter? She was like, didn't Tom Brady play quarterback or something like, I don't know. No, just say it. I
thought he played with Tom Brady.
And I said, are you kidding me?
You thought I thought he was Tom Brady.
Like, seriously, how in the world would you mistake JJ Watt for Tom Brady?
I didn't. Anyway.
All right, moving on.
I'm going to live this down, even though I didn't say it.
You know what, Parker? I'll tell you one thing is that in your broadcasting career, you're probably going to mess up a million times. And the best thing to do is just say, oh, yeah, I screwed that up. Because if you try to play it off, everyone's going to be like, I screw up a million times. So I feel your producer. That is something that I probably would have said something like that when I just wasn't thinking. And I'd be like, oh, what am I talking about?
I will say, I have another really embarrassing story.
Love him.
So, are you familiar with The Burt Show?
Oh, yeah. I used to work right next to him.
So I was actually like their Falcons reporter for a while, meaning I would like do a recap of the Falcon game.
Cool.
And one game they were playing, and one game was against the Saints, and the game was about to go to overtime. And I said, we're about to go to, we're heading into dreaded overtime. Yes, I like, and then like mom was petrified because like I don't know, like she said it was
Did you just burp on command? That's the best thing ever.
Sorry,
give me another one.
And here I am making a fool out of myself.
No, let's hear it. Give me another burp on command. Oh my gosh! All right, let me see.
Okay, sorry. Well, what do you say we ended right here before?
How's that?
Oh, okay. Well, this just went somewhere.
I got to keep up with you, Parker, man. I'm telling you. Maybe that's tomorrow on the air. I'm going to intentionally burp in the middle of a sentence, and just to see if anyone catches it. What do you think about that, Parker?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Shertenlieb, and thank you. Oh, and then to the listeners, thank you for checking out the Fan and Fanatic podcast. Bye.
Bye. You're the best, Parker Seaman. Woo!
All right, Fanatics. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Fan and Fanatic. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of your support. Don't forget to follow or subscribe, or whatever your podcast app says to do. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For my broadcast partner, Ryan Grelecki, this is Parker Grelecki saying, Game, Set, Match!